This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV Profit.
Welcome to the show which promises you nothing more than smart, practical money advice. We make sure you aim high with your savings and then set you on the path to get to those goals. Whether it's a home that you want to buy or fund your child's higher education or simply hang up your boots at 50. Send us your questions with your phone numbers on the contact details coming up on your screen, and we'll make sure each of those are answered. My expert panel today, let me introduce them. Surya Bhatia, Managing Consultant of Asset Managers, and Sumit Vaid, Founder and CEO of Freedom Financial Planner. Sumit and Surya, thank you very much for joining me here on Let's Talk Money. I think we've got a long list of questions, so we'll get straight to them. First is a portfolio check, and we've got Mayur joining us from Kolkata. Hi Mayur, lovely picture of you and your wife, and I think both of you seem to love nature. Both of them have a very green backdrop to it.
Hi Manisha, good morning. This is Mayur, we belong to Assam, so we took this picture on our way to the northeastern part of the state. So once we were on a trip.
It's really nice to see fields and forests behind in both those pictures. Go ahead, Mayur. How can we help you? You've got 2 or 3 needs. One is home buying. There's also retirement. Actually, pretty well laid out, but you tell us.
Right. My first question is, starting this year, I got married, and now I'm starting to think about buying a home as soon as possible. But the constraint would still remain on how soon I can accumulate at least around 10 to 12 lakhs. I have around 2 lakh plus in my fixed deposits and around 65,000 invested till now in SIPs currently.
Okay.
I can invest up to around 18 to 20,000 per month. So I want to know which is the best way to invest starting, say, next month or, say, immediately, so that I can reach my goal of around 10 to 12 lakhs as soon as possible. That's number one. Mm-hmm. And number two is I want to retire, say, by the age of 55. Currently, I'm 29. I want to know how to start saving for my retirement as well. So these are the basic questions I have.
Okay, so both are really good long-term goals. One is a home 4 to 5 years away, and one is retirement. And just 1 year into marriage has all his goals really well set out. I can see enough money to create a corpus of that 10 to 12 lakhs, Surya, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. I think he already has enough money if he just invests very carefully and do the investments the way he's been doing and continue doing it. I think the goal of providing for your down cash for your house can be met. There is absolutely no concern on that. The key over here is you need to identify the schemes where you are putting your money in. You already have mentioned that you have SIPs going on in some mutual funds. You can actually add on to them maybe some hybrid funds because you need this money in a span of 4 to 5 years from now. However, you have to be careful on one front, which is that after a 3 to 4 year period, you need to make sure that the money is taken out from those funds and transferred to maybe your bank deposits or a kind of a liquid asset class. So that at the end of the day, when you actually need the money and the market pops out, then you should be secured enough.
Mm-hmm. And any fund names? I mean, of course, yeah. HDFC Prudence in the balanced category, or he goes the equity debt way?
I think a combination of equity debt and a hybrid will actually suit you in a balance, what Manisha just said. HDFC Prudence, HDFC Balance are brilliant funds. Otherwise, you can also create a debt and equity combination. You can look at more of a diversified fund where HDFC equity, HDFC top 200, and maybe a debt, and in debt category, in the current scenario, please pick up maybe dynamic debt because you really don't know how the debt will shape up going forward because the interests are actually as volatile as equity right now.
All right. So if you're looking at debt, then a dynamic fund like ICICI Dynamic is a good one to go with.
Yeah, ICICI Dynamic, Birla Dynamic Bond Fund is another one. You can even look at short terms where Templeton short term scores high.
Great. Sumit, so house taken care of, enough money in the portfolio. What about retirement? How much do you think he should build for a comfortable retirement, and how does he get there?
Manisha, before I jump to retirement, I just have one point to make in house, which we are seeing quite a lot time these days when we are doing a planning for house. We usually say I need a down payment to be taken care of. But the question which many a time we need to ask right upfront when we are planning for house is what's the overall cost of house or a budget of house I have in mind when I really going to buy about that house, because many a time seeing the interest rate situation, the EMIs which you will have to really feed for at that point even after taking down payments are not realistic, and most of the times yes, after 4 years you're ready to buy a house, but you still don't have enough of monthly income left to pay your EMI plus down payment. So I just want to highlight that case before I go into the retirement part for this particular gentleman. And if you really see the retirement goal as he's articulating also is pretty right in the direction, and the amount of money which he needs to really go and provide for retirement is corpus of 5 crore 62 lakhs 44,000 for your retirement. Since this goal is 26 years away, the need to generate this kind of a corpus can be easily done by saving 26,000 rupees, in the ratio of 80-20 in equity and debt fund. The point to be seen is considering his expenses and considering his surplus, he doesn't have that kind of a surplus on a monthly basis to really go and generate that kind of a saving. So we have to start off with the surplus, whatever is left up, and then slowly stagger it up every year as his income goes up.
Great. And some of the funds which you can also look for your equity debt portfolio, equity names, ICICI Focus Blue Chip Growth Fund. I have met the management here, Mayur, actually the CIO and CEO, and I really like the way they look at this fund and actually give investors alpha returns by sticking to just the large cap names. Very few. Most large cap funds will give you 10 to 11% returns. I think ICICI Focus Blue Chip should be able to beat that in the long term, 5 to 7 years, and give you a slightly much bigger differential with the index itself. There's DSP BlackRock Equity Growth, slightly conservative but very, very steady. IDFC Premier Equity Growth from the mid-cap space. We absolutely find this fund delightful. Very good stock picking, extremely focused and disciplined, and they really do know how to find those gems. Birla Dynamic Bond Fund is something that Surya has mentioned earlier as well. So these are some of the funds that you can look at. 26,000 is what you should be aiming at. Can't do it today, stagger it up, and of course there will be a time, Mayur, that you will be making so much money that 26,000 will seem small. You would probably be able to save 50 to 60 to even a lakh a month. Next up, we've got Amit joining us, and Amit Rastogi is calling us from Gurgaon. Hi Amit, I can see a picture of a very tiny baby. Are you a new dad?
Yeah, Manisha. Hi.
Okay, so how old is the baby, and girl or boy?
Yeah, baby is like just 8 months old. So yeah,
Okay.
I'm really happy to have in my family.
Great, go ahead. And I can see that you're doing a good job of saving reasonably for them. How can we help you?
Yeah, Manisha, I really, I'm really like a regular watcher of your show, and I really appreciate the efforts that you guys take in helping people out. Presently, I'm having 3 goals primarily in front of me. One is like the long-term goal, which is for my daughter. Another is for myself, the retirement goal, and the third one, which is near about a year or so goal. Which is like I want to buy a house.
Okay.
So these are the primarily three goals, and presently I am drawing 15 lakhs as a salary per year, of which I'm like if I calculate on a per month basis, it comes to around 90,000 on a take-home basis, and I'm able to save around 60,000 every month of it. So I think I've given other details. So
yes, we have your details. Amit, let me start with first that you're saving a large chunk of your take home, which is, well, fantastic in the NCR region. I haven't seen anybody with that large from a take home. So maybe you could spend a little bit more and enjoy a little bit more. But now that you're giving us 60,000 per month to invest, and that's a huge sum of money, what does he do, Surya?
I think the amount of money which Amit is saving is pretty robust and is a good amount of money. And I think, Amit, let me congratulate you first of all for this. I think we're not finding many people who are saving this kind of percentage from your net take home. So that's one thing which you have done well. Going forward, I think you need to make sure that the needs which you have mentioned for your, both for your, let's say, your kids' providence for education and subsequently marriage, and for retirement, you need to dedicate a corpus for those funds separately. For example, you already have said that you have insurance policies running and where you have taken a premium holiday. At the same time, I would like to mention over there that the holiday which you have taken does not mean that you cannot pay the premium. It's more of a break which you have taken over there. So please ensure that either you continue the policy or stop it outrightly and then swap it up by going for a term insurance. You cannot believe on this make-believe platform that you will continue with that and you have a term cover continuing. They're actually eating up your units. So please decide what you want to do. Actually, you need to evaluate how the policy is doing. All the data, facts are available in the market. You can go to the insurance company, take out the sheets from them, and evaluate. If it is not working well, please get out and go for a term insurance. And within that, you have also highlighted that how much cover I should be taking. That's what the typically query was. You're mentioning that you hear about around 10 times of insurance cover available, and which actually is ideally correct. It's more of a thumb rule available in the market. But if you want to do an accurate calculation, you can actually go to any of the insurance companies' websites and do a human life value calculator. That will give you a true indicator of what your insurance cover ideally should be. What actually it means is it tries to cover your income and your expenses and liabilities versus in the same platform your expectation of returns and the inflation factor. And then it gives you how much insurance cover you should be having.
And where can you calculate that, Surya?
I think all insurance companies have this. And I will not like that, but that's a hard fact. When agents come and sell you the policies, they should be the one who should be propagating this to you.
All right. But thumb rule still sticks to about 7 to 10 times.
That's right. But if you want to do
salary.
accurate calculation, because it may change and vary for each person to person.
And we also recommend that you should increase your term cover every 5 to 10 years.
That's right.
That's another way that you can always remain adequately insured. What about housing? He wants to go ahead and buy a house in 1 year. And he's getting a substantial amount, he says,
from his ancestral
property. So that's a decent amount for a down payment.
I think you should accumulate that wealth and go for that house with higher down cash, because with the way the interest rates are, it's better if you pay a higher down cash and take a lesser loan. But despite that, you may end up taking around 30 to 40 lakhs of loan, which is fair enough, and which I think also can pay off from your current income salaries.
Great. And Amit, you've sent us a list of the mutual funds that you've identified to put away 15,000 rupees. And I'm just reading out this list. ICICI Pru Focus Blue Chip, Large Cap. Great fund to go ahead with. UTI Dividend Yield, UTI Opportunities. Both extremely good funds, but I would say pick one, not both. HDFC Mid Cap Opportunities and HDFC Prudence. Again, two names from the same fund house. You can prune it down to one. You could actually look at a hybrid fund to start with, or if you think that you want to take a little bit more equity exposure, then stick to HDFC Mid Cap Opportunities. Look at IDFC Premier or IDFC Mid and Small Cap. That's a fund house that we like a lot on its performance, especially in the mid cap space. It's been doing very well. Otherwise, I think you're fairly set in terms of reaching your goals. 75 lakhs for your daughter's education. You're aiming high, and you should be able to get there very easily. Next up, Aditya on the phone line with us, and Aditya joins us from Hyderabad, 27 years of age, very young, and getting married in a year. So Aditya, have you found your dream girl?
Not yet.
All right, but you wrote with such conviction that you're going to get married in a year. I thought maybe you were already engaged, but all the best for that. Go ahead. What would you like us to help you with?
Well, right now I'm working with an MNC in Hyderabad here, and my current CTC is 4 lakhs per annum. And as I've mentioned in my email, all of my tax-saving funds that I've invested in, and right now I would like to go into something wherein I can accumulate some more.
All right, Aditya, it's not unusual to find in young people's portfolio a large chunk of money going into tax-saving investments like Public Provident Fund. We like PPF. A little bit of infra bonds is also decent. ULIPs maybe not so much. But let's get you started on regular savings and where that money should be going. Sumit.
Aditya, first things first, I think you should put across a contingency plan in place where you should put across 3 to 6 months of your expenses aside for any kind of emergency. That's the first start you should do. Secondly, relook at your insurance portfolio. It's got a lot of investments linked insurance plans. Usually whenever you look at insurances, look purely as protection, not as investment, and try and sit with your advisor and evaluate whether you need to continue paying premiums to these ULIPs and other insurances investment because the expenses are very high. After doing these two things, the first thing which you should articulate is setting up a good financial goals for you, for which you need to really save. You said you're getting married next year, so you can come up with few goals with relation to your marriage in terms of what expenses you want to do for marriage, and work backwards in terms of identifying how much money should be going into equity and debt, and then within that mutual funds through regular systematic investment plan. So the idea is to have goals and work around amounts based on that and work towards that.
And Aditya, a couple of ULIPs that you have, whether it's an LIC plan or ICICI, remember, we do think that any kind of investments linked to insurance underinsure you and also don't give you adequate returns. So that's something which you really need to keep in mind and not go the ULIP way. Investments, anything that comes to your mind, Sumit? How should he allocate his money and what amount should he start off with?
See, considering what he's disclosed in terms of his income level and what he's doing in terms of PPF and all, first thumb rule should be, you should start investing in equity because he doesn't have much of investments going into equity at all. So you should look at investing regularly in equity funds, a combination of large cap and mid cap funds can do really well, in which HDFC Top 100 can be a good choice, and the large cap and IDFC Premier Equity as a mid cap fund in a systematic investment plan will be a great idea to start off with.
So there you go. Two funds for you to start out systematically investing into to build a long-term corpus. We're also spreading awareness about a new global index trade introduced by the National Stock Exchange. NSE has started trading on S&P and Dow futures. Both of these, as you may well know, are US market indices and capture the US economy and corporates. S&P focuses on the large cap segment of the US market and covers around 75% of US equities. It is seen as an ideal proxy of the US market. Dow Jones Industrial Average, that includes 30 most liquid blue chip companies in the United States. It represents around 28% of the float adjusted market cap of the US stock market. Now the ticker symbols, in case you are an avid trader and of course are looking at futures and options as a hedging strategy, S&P 500 for S&P futures, where the contract size is 250 units, and DJIA for Dow Jones Index futures, where contract size here is 25 units. Now we also have a question related to trading, and this question comes from Mr. Raghunand. He says, can my stockbroker make a profit for himself while selling my shares by showing a lower sale price in the sale contract, but actually selling at a slightly higher price without my knowledge, thus making a small amount of money for himself? Well, Dr. Raghunand, we've got Sanjeev Bhasin. He's a very well-known independent market advisor to answer your question, and he says, absolutely not. This shouldn't be happening.
Dr. Raghunand, that is not possible because the exchange is governed by certain practices, and one of them is that each client is given a unique ID by the exchange. So when the order is entered, it goes from the client's account. Secondly, the order execution will give the number of trades and the timing coming electronically on your contract note. So there is no question of the broker selling on your account without your consent and making a profit. What will be done is, it's an electronically driven market where the unique client ID will be allocated to each client separately, and thus there is no room for error or profit making in that case. Hope your query has been answered in the correct fashion. Thank you.
For all you investors trading in equities, the key is to get an electronically generated NSE trade note. All brokers already do it. If you're with a small sub-broker, chances are that he might still be offering you a physical note, though even he is bound to provide an electronic note to you. Also, Dr. Raghunand, next time you trade, you should avail of the opportunity to verify your trades on the NSE website. The details are available for almost 10 days from the date of the trade. Okay, we'll come back, and up next we'll handle our withdrawals from Provident Fund Tax. Keep watching. Thanks for staying with me here on Let's Talk Money, your favorite money show. Get in touch with us if you're confused about the best place to invest your money in, insurance or taxes, and we'll get you the best expert advice. This week's tax question comes from Sanjay Arora, and it relates to Provident Fund withdrawals, so pay close attention. Most of us do need to have a grip on this. Sanjay, go ahead. What would you like to know?
Hi, thank you for taking up my question.
It's our pleasure.
My question is regarding, I had worked for an organization for 10 months and then I left my job. So my query is, if I withdraw my Provident Funds, will it be like tax deducted at source? Or do I have to pay tax at the time of filing my income tax return? Or is the Provident Fund withdrawal tax free?
Okay. It will be taxed.
Yes, it will be taxed.
Right.
I think his services are for less than continuous period of 5 years. That's the key over here, Sanjay. The rule says that if your continuous service is 5 years and more, in that scenario, the exemption provision is applicable. If the period is less, then it is taxable. However, if you have been working previously, then and as a continuous service, even that can be counted when you accumulate that period of 5 years. However, there's an exemption provided which says that in case your employment is not there because of ill health or because of discontinuance of your employer's business, then the provision of 10 months will also be applicable, which means you don't have to pay a tax on that. But I think in your case, you have to pay a tax. Now coming to your second query, whether the tax payable will be deducted at source by the employer or whether you have to pay it yourself. This depends on whether your PF is deducted by a PF trust, which is maintained by a company, or it's a PF commissioner. In case it's by the company, which is your PF trust, then automatically they will do a tax at source, a TDS. But if a commissioner, because they don't know your taxation, hence they will give you the entire amount of money and the onus is on you to pay the taxes. But you don't have to pay the taxes at the time of filing of return. That's one error which we find a lot of people doing. You have to pay the taxes as per the advanced tax states. Otherwise, you will end up paying the interest.
Okay, little complicated, but something that all of us need to know. 5 years of continuous service is what you need in case you do want to prevent taxation on your Provident Fund withdrawals. Gentlemen, thanks very much for your time and attention to our viewer questions. Surya, pleasure to have you with me here. Sumit, thanks for joining me from Mumbai studio. And to all of you, we're going to bring you a Diwali special next week, outlook on equity, bonds, gold and real estate with India's top experts. So if you live in Delhi or NCR and would like to be part of our show, do call us or write into us. We'd love to have you join us in person. And of course, I look forward to seeing you again for that very special Diwali show.